Hi there guys, James Savage from National Club Golfer here at the Golf Shack this morning, where we're delighted to say we've got some guys from Cobra who have come along for our Cobra reader fitting day. This was a competition that we ran online for lucky readers to come and get fit for some of Cobra's new gear for 2017. So we've got 4 readers today. We've got someone getting fitted into the oversized irons, we've got someone getting fitted into the F7 driver, F7 fairway, and then we've got hopefully someone getting fitted into the 1 length irons at the end. So really going to be interesting to see, what gains are made by our readers after a proper custom fitting session. And then when we've done with the fittings, we're going to whiz over to the Cobra factory, which is handily not too far away here in Leeds. See the clubs actually being built, see what process they go through once the order goes into, with all the different reader specs, get these clubs built up. We're going to get these clubs boxed up, sent out to our readers straight away, and then we're going to come back to you in maybe a month or 6 weeks time to see how our readers have got out on the course, how they get on in their competitions, is their handicap coming down, because really that's all that matters. It's fine, coming to a fitting like this, saying, oh, I've really enjoyed hitting that new driver. It only really matters if it's going to help, out on the course, get your handicap down and improve over a period of time. So it's going to be a really interesting day today. The guys are getting set up. Let's see how they get on. Okay, so we've had our 4 readers there, good hitting session with Joe, expert fitter from Cobra. Let's just talk you back through each of our readers. First up we had Andrew, 15 handicapper, big, strong, strapping lad. I think he'd had his Weetabix this morning, was hitting his 7-iron about 170, 175. Joe, talk us through a little bit how you got him fitted into the oversized irons and what sort of gains that we saw there.
Yeah, so Andrew had a set of the Ping G-Max. He'd been fitted I think 6 to 8 months ago. His irons were an inch longer. 4 degrees upright, and he wasn't looking for distance. He hit it, as you said, he had his Weetabix, he hit a good distance. He was looking more for a bit more dispersion, a bit more consistency in where the ball was going. His own 7-iron, from a numbers point of view, was carrying around the sort of 170 mark on average, but there's a few left, a few right. There was no real consistency, and the feedback he gave on his on-course performance was that that's what he found with his irons. He didn't have that consistency. We tried a few different shafts. We ended up with the Dynamic Gold AMT shaft in S300. The shaft Andrew was using was a really, really light shaft, so this going into a heavier shaft, instantly his feedback was he liked it, he could feel where the club was more, he felt like he had more control.
Yeah.
As a result, we then lowered his spin slightly, gave him actually more distance, but tightened his dispersion right up, so it was far, far better in that respect.
Yeah, with the oversized irons, they're quite a powerful iron, aren't they?
Yeah.
And everything about them, from the sound, when you start hitting them, they do have got that sort of strong sound that sound like they've been hitting. I'm guessing that's something that's going to give people a bit of confidence.
Yeah,
as well.
and a lot of the feedback is how powerful they sound, and it gives people that added confidence. So in the iron, there's some technology in there. We have a power shell face technology. It's a hollow head design. As a result, they will sound nice and powerful. And compared to his irons, which sounded quite dull, if you like, off the face, these are certainly sounding much louder.
Okay, so that was Andrew. He was really impressed with how he got on with the oversized irons. Next up, we had Archie, a bit of an unusual one for us and maybe for you as well. Archie, 10 years old, but a really keen golfer. Swung it really nicely. He's definitely got some potential there. We got him going. Hit some with his own 3-wood, and then we moved into the F7. Woods, didn't we? Just tell us a little bit about how you got Archie fitted, because like I say, a little bit different, because he's quite tall for a 10-year-old lad, but he looked about 5 foot to me, so I'm guessing shaft length was maybe an issue there. Yeah,
we went from one extreme to the other, didn't we?
We did.
Went from Andrew to Archie. So yeah, Archie, really, really good, promising young player, only been playing for a couple of years. So he was looking for a new fairway wood. At the moment he had a hybrid and a fairway wood, but there wasn't really much difference between them. So the first thing he did was we got those numbers. We looked at how far his own hybrid and his current fairway wood was going, and it was very, very similar. There was no real gain, certainly not in carry. So what we ended up doing was, because of his age and his height, we got him into our F7 fairway. We settled on a 5-6 fairway, which has a loft range of 17 to 20 degrees, and we started him off in the highest loft. We then put that in a shaft that was just slightly shorter, So as a result, he got a little bit more control. We played around with lofts, played around with the movable weight, and the best one for him was the weight in the back setting, and at 19.5 degrees with the draw bias, and that gave him, just looking at the numbers there, around about 25 yards more carry than his hybrid.
Okay.
So before it was far too close together, now he had a decent gap between, let's say, his average 20 yards more carry.
Because we noticed as well, he started off, he had a 3-wood, didn't he, that
Yeah.
he was hitting, and he just was struggling to launch. He was hitting it okay, but then when you added a little bit of extra loft, obviously with the 5 to 6, the overall performance looked to be better because he was just flighting it a little bit more. Wasn't
And it's something I see consistently is that people, sometimes, it sounds crazy, but they'll hit a 5-wood probably further than they hit a 3-wood. The 3-wood with a bit less loft is a bit harder to launch, especially, say, for Archie, he found it more difficult to launch that one. So going into more loft with a 5-wood, and that shorter shaft just gave him a better launch and better consistency.
Yeah.
And the key thing he got, the difference he got, was that consistency of carry as well.
Another little added bonus for him as well, with him being an Everton fan, he went for that blue, the blue head as well, which was quite nice for him as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so we went from Archie into Ian. Ian was having an F7 driver fitting. This was interesting, wasn't it? Because Ian actually had the Cobra amp cell driver. Was that right?
Yes, amp cell driver.
And he was hitting that well, wasn't he? You know,
really well.
He was a very consistent driver of the ball. You know, one after the other, they were pretty much on a piece of string. So you had your work cut out, really, didn't you? Trying to squeeze a little bit of added some performance gains there. But just tell us a little bit, where you went with the driver. What options you tried and how you got him, performing a bit better.
Yeah, so as you say, Ian's driver came along, and it's not a bad thing when you come for a fitting, and it's great when someone comes and hits their best drives.
Yeah, because you're fitting them on their good shots rather than their miss. Yeah.
Yeah, because then it's more of a challenge as well. It's to make sure he gets the most out of it. So his current driver, as you say, was the amp cell driver in a stiff shaft. So we tried 3 different heads. We tried our F7 head, we tried our F7 Plus head, and we tried our LTD head. Ian preferred the look of our LTD and our F7 Plus heads, which come in a matte finish.
Slightly more compact compared to the
slightly
F7,
more compact appearance, and certainly more compact footprint versus the F7. So once we'd settled on that, it was a case of fine tuning, getting dialed into the right shaft and the right loft. We played around with some different shafts, some different lofts, and we settled on the F7 Plus at 10.5 degrees with the Accelerate 61 Pro shaft.
Okay, and what sort of distance gains were we getting compared to his original driver with the one that you kind of settled on?
So the one we settled on, we had a little bit of a gain in 4 yards in carry, but tighter dispersion again.
Yeah.
With his own driver, they were slightly sort of left. There's a little bit more spin on the golf ball.
Yeah.
With the new driver, we managed to get the dispersion far tighter, more central, and take spin off a little bit. Ian was someone who launched the ball naturally really high, so with him we can afford to let his spin drop down to the sort of 2,200 mark, around there, because he launched it nice and high. He's going to get the most out of it.
Yeah, no, that was good fun watching Ian hit there. It'd be nice to just on order just hit that middle of the fairway every
like
time.
A robot.
Yeah, no, that was cool. And then finally we had our other Ian, who we weren't sure where we were going to go with this, but it was with the irons fitting. Obviously we had the option of one length. We let him hit some of his own. Ian was swinging it at sort of in the mid 60 miles an hour, wasn't he? And he had steel shafts in his Callaway irons. Just tell us a little bit what options you tried with him and what did you get settled on with, what you thought was going to work best for him on the course.
Yeah, so Ian had been custom fitted, but not for many years. So having the TrackMan and things like that was all quite new to him. So he had a set of steel shafted Callaway irons, and as you said there, his swing speed was sort of 64, 65 miles an hour. So instantly we tried him into a lighter flex shaft, and at which point he instantly found a little bit more distance. So we gained around 15 yards versus his 7-iron with our F7 7-iron. The beauty of our F7 irons this year, obviously, is we then have the option of a variable length or a 1-length set. So we then can put that shaft into a 5-iron head and get Ian to try it. So his feedback was, at the moment, his longest iron he's comfortable with is his 6-iron. So we tried the 5-iron, got some pretty good results, inconsistent to start with, but pretty good results. We then went back. The fitting process with 1 length is to go back through a 7-iron, so hit a few more shots, reaffirm that, the whole swing thing, and then into 9-iron. The 9-iron for him was really good. He found it much better. The gap between 7 and 9 iron was perfect. We want to make sure we see between 15 and 20 yard gap, which we saw. So then we went back into the 5 iron again and saw some more consistency. And Ian was a big advocate of one length, and he was sort of sold on the idea. He'd hit enough good shots to say that's what I want to go with.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to him in terms of whether or not he plays that 5 iron or whether he starts his set at 6 iron.
Yeah, because I mean, he's got the 5 iron now, and he was openly admitting that he carries it, but just doesn't hit it very well. Yeah. I think we've got a better chance of him having some success with the new 5 iron in that variable length. And like you said to him, take them down the range and get used to them, because although it shouldn't take too long to transition into them, it's things like the set-up ball position, just a few things he needs to work on.
Absolutely, and if we look at from a data point of view, look at his best shots with his 7 iron, his best shots with 1 length 5 iron, and his best shots with 1 length 9 iron, it's perfect gapping. So it's in there, he just needs to sort of fine-tune that, and I'm sure he'll be fine.
Brilliant. Well, all our readers have had an absolutely fantastic time. Some of them custom fit for the first time. Joe's gone for everything. We've done live, we've done loft. We've just really got players dialed in, which really is the way to go if you're looking at getting some new clubs. But we're going to go off now to the Cobra factory, which is actually in Leeds. It's not far away. We're going to kind of see how the whole process works. We've got everyone's specs and orders. We're going to send them over to the factory. We're going to see what goes on there, get these clubs built up, get them out to our readers so they can get them on the course, and we can really see how they get on in real life. Okay, so we've come over from Moor Allerton over here to the Cobra fitting factory in Leeds. Quite handy for us, not that far to travel. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Neil, who basically runs the operation here. So Neil, a lot going on. We've seen all kinds of parts to the club building process. Just talk us through it in a little bit more detail. Obviously, our readers have just been fitted. We've got their specs. What to do once you've got that information?
Right, the information goes through to the girls upstairs. They'll print out the order, sales order. It comes down, it's picked. The girls go around with the trolleys. They pick all the shafts, heads, whatever, making up the order. From there, it comes into the main sort of cage, we call it, which is the assembly room. First thing we do is we tip the shafts to give us the flex, and or if it's a taper, we don't bother tipping them. So they're tipped, they're then cut to length. We use adjustable jigs, so if it's ½ inch longer or it's an inch longer, we just adjust on a slider. They're then braided, so we prep the tips just so we get a good bond with the epoxy, graphite and steel. They then go across to the ferrule stations where there's a pneumatic ferrule setter. From there it goes to swing weighting, because every club in here is swing weighted to a very tight tolerance. And then from there it goes down to the gluing stations,
which was just over there.
Yeah, which is over the back there. We've got 2 gluing stations. Takes about 10 minutes to glue a set, and then it takes about 10-15 minutes for the epoxy to cure. From there we turn the ferrules down, because all the ferrules are oversized.
Okay.
Once we turn the ferrules, they come across here for gripping.
Yep.
Then if they need bending, if we're adjusting the loft or the lie, they go back over that side, where we have all the loft and lie machines. We've got 4 loft and lie machines over there. After that, goes across to the girls who clean them, and they go out the door.
So you can see they're boxed up there, and then the delivery guys, as we saw, they came and take the clubs away. Just in terms of how long that process would take, let's say you've got a set of irons, doesn't need anything dramatically doing adjustments to in terms of getting that order in to sort of getting them boxed up. How long does that whole process take?
We would probably say get them in, cut them, prep them, put the ferrules on, swing weight them is probably 10 minutes for the set, down, 2 or 3 minutes to glue them, so then you've got 10-15 minutes curing time, another 3 or 4 minutes to glue, so you're probably looking 25 minutes before it goes out the door.
Okay, and in terms of how many sets you'll shift in a day, what roughly would you say on that?
We tend to do them in cycles of 36. It's all to do with the trolleys, and we push the trolleys around, so there'll be 36 being at any one station at any one point. So we probably turn out about 120, 130 sets on an average day, but when we get busy after the Masters and the season kicks off, we'll be doing 170, 180
Yeah,
sets
so
a day.
everyone's just got to work a little bit faster, I
Well,
guess.
yeah, we just have to crack the whip a bit. we just step up a gear, really.
Because what's interesting here is it's not just being shipped to pro shops or retailers or individuals in the UK, going all over Europe, aren't you? And is it South Africa
yeah,
as well?
we do South Africa, yeah, Middle East. So yeah, we ship all over from there. We use UPS and DPD, so ship everywhere.
Good stuff. Well, it's been a really fascinating day for us. We've seen our readers get fit. We've followed the orders here to the factory. We've seen the clubs get built themselves. So all that's left really now is to get these clubs into the hands of our readers, get them out on the golf course, and hopefully we'll come back and report that their handicaps are tumbling down and they're winning competitions
Let's
every
hope
week. Thanks very much, guys.
Okay, cheers.